So this next problem is very similar to the last, so we're going to proceed about the same. We are looking for what are the two numbers, so I'm going to let x equal my first number, and then I'm going to reread the problem to figure out what my second number is. I'm looking for the comparative statement. It looks like the first sentence is the comparative statement. One number is 6 more than twice another. Because of that word than, the twice another and more 6 are going to switch orders. Twice another number, that's 2 times the x, the first number that we had. More 6, that's plus 6. The second sentence says the product of the two numbers is 20. Who are the two numbers that we're talking about? Well, we're talking about the x, and we're going to multiply that by the second number, 2x plus 6. And that is equal to 20. And that's my equation. That's going to get you close to half your points for this problem. To get the rest of your points, you need to solve it. So I'm going to distribute and get 2x squared plus 6x equals 20. I'm going to move the 20 over so that I have one side equal to 0. 2x squared plus 6x minus 20. Now, when I need to factor this, it looks like there's a GCF here. Now, that's awesome news for us. When you factor out a 2, the leading coefficient turns from being a number other than 1 to 1. So, yay, now it's an easy trinomial. That is good news for us. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 10 and add 3. One of each sign. Because the 10 is negative, I know I have one of each sign. So the two numbers that multiply 10 and add to 3 are going to be positive 5 and negative 2. Now I can set each of those factors equal to 0, and I'm talking about each of the factors that have an x in it. So x plus 5 has an x in it, so I set that equal to 0. X plus 2 has an x in it, so I set that equal to 0. 2 doesn't have an x in it, so setting it equal to 0 isn't really all that helpful. Doesn't really get you an answer because there is no way for you to solve for x. So the two solutions I'm getting here are x equals 5 and x equals negative 5 and x equals positive 2. Again, those are just first numbers, right? I still need to figure out what the heck the second number is. In order to get the second number, I'm going to take my first number, which in the first case is negative 5, multiply it by 2, so 2 times negative 5 more 6, so that's negative 10 plus 6, or negative 4. So negative 5 and negative 4 are a pair of numbers. To get the next second number, if my first number is 2, the second number is 2 times that 2 more 6, so that's 4 plus 6, or 10. So positive 2 and positive 10 go together. So if I want to check this, I can plug in my values. If I have negative 5, twice that number, negative 5, that's going to be negative 10. More 6 is negative 4. Do these two numbers multiply to positive 20? Yeah, negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. Notice I checked my answer just by reading the sentences and making sure that it all made sense. One number is 6 more than twice the other. 2 times 2 is 4, more 6 is 10. Yep, that works. And if I take 2 times 10, is that 20? Yep, that works. So again, I checked my work just by reading the sentences and making sure that everything made sense with my two answers. So the next two problems are talking about consecutive integers or consecutive even or odd integers. So I'm looking for two numbers that are consecutive integers whose product is 42. So when I'm looking for the second number, I want to use the information I can get from the words consecutive integers. Consecutive integers are back-to-back integers like 7, 8, or 15, 16. So if I have one number as the first integer, to get to the next one, you just simply add 1. So if you ever see consecutive integers, it's always x and x plus 1. Jumping down here, if you have consecutive even or consecutive odd, I know we're not really on this problem yet, but you're going to have the x is the first number and x plus 2 be the second number because it's even. Even are like 4 to 6 or 8 to 10. To get from 4 to 6 you add 2, to get from 8 to 10 you add 2, so to get from your first number to the next consecutive even you add 2. Those are something you probably just want to memorize. Let's go back to 24 and finish this up. It says find the two consecutive integers, that's our first and second number, whose, that should say whose. Whose product is 42, which means I'm going to take x times x plus 1, and that needs to be equal to 42. That's going to get you almost half your points for the problem. So now I have to solve it by distributing, setting one side equal to 0, which is going to get me x squared plus 1x minus 42 equals 0. This is an easy trinomial, which is nice. I have an x and an x. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 42 yet add to 1. So the answer there is 6 and 7. Because the positive on the 1, that means the bigger term has to be positive, that's 7, and that means 6 has to be negative. I set each of these factors equal to 0. So I'm getting x is equal to 6 and x is equal to negative 7. As a reminder, this is the first number. To get to the next number, you're just going to add 1. So if I take 6 and add 1, that gets me 7. If I take negative 7 and add 1, that gets me negative 6. So 6 and 7 are consecutive integers. If I multiply 6 times 7, it gets me 42. Negative 6 and negative 7 are consecutive integers. They're back to back. And they multiply to positive 42. Okay, good. One more. I already have my consecutive and even integers, which are x and x plus 2. I'm asking the product needs to multiply to 80. So that's my equation. Now I'm going to distribute my equation, x squared plus 2x equals 80. To solve, I need one side equal to 0. So that's going to get me x squared plus 2x minus 80 from both sides. Again, this is an easy trinomial. So the first terms are x and x. I need two numbers that multiply to 80 and add to 2. I think that's 8 and 10. Because the 2 is positive, the 10 has to be positive, the 8 has to be negative. Set each of those factors equal to 0 with the 0 product property. I'm getting x is equal to 8 and x is equal to negative 10. Again, those are first numbers, okay, because they're x. So if the first number is 8, the next one is 2 after that. 8 plus 2 is 10. So 8 and 10 are consecutive even integers, and if you multiply them, they get 80. So that checks out. Well, what if my first number wasn't 8, but was negative 10 instead? The second number would be x plus 2, or 2 more than that. Negative 10 plus 2 is negative 8. So negative 8 and negative 10 are consecutive even. They're back-to-back even. And when you multiply negative times a negative, it gets you a positive, in this case 80. So this one checks out as well. And that concludes our practice exam 2. And I wish you the best of luck on your exam.